All right, what are we watching out for when the Raiders have the ball?
Well, I think we talked about Gardner Minshew, not turning the ball over, and who knows if that can happen. But a key part of that would be the run game getting going. We've mentioned the old line's making some strides. I think you saw Madison have some moments, and even Zamir popped one last week. So I think to win this game, they have to run the ball. That's how they won last time against the Chiefs. They have to run the ball just to at least take some pressure off of Gardner, and not have him press so much and try and make these throws that he shouldn't be trying to make. So I think the whole line and the run game will be my key matchup on offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think can Minshew stop giving the ball away is the main thing. His offense just isn't going to be that good in general, but especially not if they're turning the ball over the way they've been doing as of late. So, as he said after the game last week, like he hasn't really been a guy that's turned the ball over quite like this before. And so, tough matchup this week going against his Chief defense, which is, even after losing L'Jarius Sneed in the offseason, they remain one of the best defenses in the league. And so it might be tough to get back on track this week, but if they're going to have any semblance of a chance, they can't turn the ball over how they've been doing.
Yeah, so the Raiders beat the Chiefs in Kansas City mainly because they were able to run the ball last year. But the Chiefs defense, even though they were one of the top defenses last year, their weakness was the run game. They were a bottom 10 run game in several metrics. This year they're an average run defense, a little bit better than average. So and the Raiders I think are probably a little worse at running the ball right now. Unless these young guys really get up to speed. Um, it, I just don't see a world where the Raiders move the ball consistently against the Chiefs, who are just a suffocating defense. And man, some of the things they were doing in the secondary against Brock Purdy were just next level as far as their disguising. So I don't know if they're going to be as exotic against Gardner Minshew, but this is going to be a tough defense to move the ball against. And Spags is as good as any defensive coordinator at taking away an offensive number one threat. They just have so many ways to double team and bracket your number one threat that I don't think Brock Bowers is going to have much of an impact in this game, and they're going to try to make other guys beat you. And I just don't know if there's a guy in this team that could consistently beat these Chiefs defensive backs, and um, it's going to be kind of a rough outing with Chris Jones, you know, rushing in the middle, and they kind of gave him the free. It feels like they gave him the freedom just to pick whatever matchup they want he wants, and he can just go there on the offensive line. He wants a matchup against DJ Glaze. He could bump out outside if he wants a matchup against JPJ. He could go inside if he wants to go on the other side against Meredith. He could do that too. So this is just going to be a tough matchup. I don't even know if the Raiders can score 10 points in this game.
Yeah, I mean, like Chiefs' run defense. I mean, they're only averaging or allowing, I guess I should say, 3.8 yards a carry, which is third best in the league. So, I mean, they're pretty great against the run so far this year, and it really hasn't mattered for the Raiders whether the other team is good at stopping the run or not. Like they haven't been able to run the ball consistently, and so particularly against this defense, like I don't really see that changing. But then, like you said with Spags, kind of like how Bill Belichick used to be with the Patriots, just kind of finding a way to take away the other team's number one option. And, especially if Myers can't play, like who else are you really scared about, if you're the chief secondary besides Brock Bowers? And so I just feel like you can double team him almost the whole game if you wanted to. And, while Bowers has been really excellent, I think it'd be tough sledding.
Gardner is just like in a bad space right now mentally. Like he is jumping around into pressure worse than he ever has in his career, and he's just not seeing the field very well. So it's going to be tough for the Raiders offense. All right, on the other side of the ball, what are we looking at?
Um, so I think the only hope is if Patrick Mahomes kind of has one of those weird games where he just sort of loses his mind. I think he struggled this year a good amount with turnovers. I mean, he's not too far behind Minshew, I don't think, in terms of like leading the league in turnovers this year. And he's just been making some really weird decisions. And we saw, I mean, the Raiders, that was to the Raiders' advantage in that Christmas Day game last year, especially Jack Jones took advantage of him with that pick six. And so maybe that's a way that the Raiders could swing the game. Making some forcing some takeaways of their own. I think they only have 3 takeaways this year as a defense, which is one of the worst figures in the league. And so if Mahomes continues to have his struggles protecting the ball, maybe that could open the window for the Raiders defense to generate some points.
Yeah, I think the Rays got, like, obviously, we mentioned Hopkins. He's got to watch out for a guy like McCole Hardman, who's kind of dangerous in jet sweeps and is a very fast guy who kind of has fallen in and out of a role over the years, but they need him now. So I think he's the guy who you can't have him beat you deep, can't have him beat you on the edge. So that'll be a key matchup, I think, as far as not letting the Chiefs have explosive plays, which they haven't so far this year. They're definitely kind of a grounded and pounded kind of team this year, but I think that there's always a possibility that Hardman could break one. So you got to make sure the defense keeps him honest.
Yeah, the Chiefs' offense. I'm very pessimistic about what the Raiders can do offensively, but I think if there's a chance to keep this game close or even win it, I think the defense could have pretty good day against the offense. Like you guys mentioned, Patrick Mahomes isn't playing well. He's thrown more interceptions than touchdown passes this year, but he's lost his top 3 receivers this year. And Travis Kelce is just not the same tight end that he has been. But what this offense does very well is they are very efficient at running the ball. They aren't explosive because they don't have good running backs, but their offensive line opens up some holes, and they lead the league in offensive rushing success rate. So they're getting good, 4 7 yard gains each time they're running the ball. But again, they're not very explosive in the passing or running game. And but I think and the Raiders again, they were surprisingly good against the Rams running game, which is one of the top running games in the league as well. So I think the Raiders will have some success against this Chiefs offense. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, and he can still pull out some magic when they need to, and they can just score. And they've just that's what they've been doing, just scoring just enough to win these games and doing just enough to win games. And obviously, they're undefeated, so their formula works. They've kind of transitioned to this defensive team that's efficient on offense. That's that even they're trying not to make mistakes, but Mahomes still has 8 picks, so you can get them, but yeah, to me, if this game is close, it's going to be because of defense, and maybe they get a turnover and put the offense in good position to score. But to me, this is going to be a very low scoring game.
I mean, Travis Kelsey looks tired, man, and it makes sense. Been traveling the world all off season,
You
jet
blaming
lag.
Taylor Swift for this?
No, I'm blaming jet lag. I'm not blaming Taylor Swift. I mean, the guy put a lot of miles on, and I think if the Raiders, you just hope he doesn't wake up this week because I think I don't have his numbers handy, but I think he's really close to being like the all-time king against the Raiders as far as like catches, touchdowns, and yards catching. I think he'll be like the top guy historically against the Raiders in all 3 categories before long. So he has owned this franchise for a while, and you'd hope he doesn't bounce back this week and kind of be the guy he has been in the past. So I think you hope that laying dogs keep laying low for another week.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Patrick Graham continue to blitz at a high rate, and if he's blitzing, then we're going to see Pal Mao play a little bit of man coverage on Kelsey. And I mean, we'll see. I don't think they're going to double Kelsey. I mean, based on what he's shown so
Right?
far this
Yeah, you shouldn't.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they probably will at times on third down because they don't have a lot of other threats. But it's not a classic Travis Kelsey game where you have to get 2 defenders on him and your DNs can't rush because they have to like bump him at the line. So yeah, I think to me this is going to be a defensive game. I don't know what's the over under. It's got to be under 40, right? It's
Come
going to
on,
be a low
man.
scoring game.
You're giving your top play. You're saying bet the under.
Yeah, but if the under is like 35 or something, that's
It's
that's
not. It's not 35.
There's no
okay.
such
The
numbers.
game's not being played in the snow.
Okay, 41 and a half. 41 and a half.
41
Yeah,
and a half. All right. So you're
yeah,
saying bet the under.
bet the under.
All right. There you go. That's Ted Win lock of the week. The under.
Lock of the week. All right. So what are our matchups of the game?
I think we talked about him. We talked about the Hopkins and Nate Hobbs one. Obviously the Kelsey. That both tight end matchups I think are big. Um, In the running games. The Chiefs are actually having success running the ball this year more than they have in the past. So Raiders have not been strong defensively against the runs. That I mean, that has to stop this week. And like you said, you want to make these guys make some mistakes, so you got to make them get in third and long if you can.
Yeah, I mean, I think mine is probably Chiefs cornerback Trent McDuffie and Brock Bowers. I would assume that's who they put on Brock Bowers. I know McDuffie's a little smaller, but I mean, he's one of the better cornerbacks in the league, All Pro player. And I think that'd be a hell of a matchup seeing those two kind of go at it. I'm sure, like we said earlier, I don't think they're probably not going to be singling Bowers up, so I'm sure McDuffie will have some help. But I think seeing those two go against each other would be a pretty good matchup. You're muted to it.
To me, I'm curious to see how this young offensive line continues to develop, and they're going to be playing a very tough Chiefs defensive line led by Chris Jones, obviously. So, not an individual player, but just the line as a whole. Because I think there's been so many miscommunication issues that they have to get those things fixed, and then physically, how are they going to be able to match up against one of the better defensive lines in the league? All right, let's get into X factors. Who are your X factors?
Well, I think for the Chiefs and probably overall for this game, DeAndre Hopkins. I've seen him coming in after getting traded from the Titans. If he's able to make an immediate impact, or if he's not really that involved. But we've talked about the Chiefs' struggles on offense, but if DeAndre Hopkins has a big day, that could change things pretty quickly compared to the level of receiver play that they've had so far this season. Since Rice got hurt and Brown's been out, so. I think that's a big one. I don't know where he lines up. I mean, we haven't seen him play for him, but traditionally he's more of an X receiver, so there might be more of a Jacorian Bennett, Jack Jones matchup than it is an A Hobbs matchup. We'll kind of see how they use him, but I think wherever he's lined up, I think Hopkins will be the X factor in this one.
I'll go with their side of the ball. I'll go with I think I mentioned it last week. It's got to be Trey Tucker. I mean, you're hoping Myers plays. That'll make his life easier. But if Myers doesn't play, you still need more than I think that. Like I said, the last 2 weeks, their top receivers had 37 and 36 yards the last 2 weeks, and yeah, that can't happen. So you got to get Tucker somehow involved in the deep throw or more jet sweeps. But you need some production out of your top receiver available. So I think Trey Tucker would be the only hope to get some points and kind of keep this game close.
Yeah, I mean, against a defense that's going to play as much man coverage as the Chiefs are going to play, and we're going to expect a lot of doubles on Bowers. Trey Tucker, for this offense to move the ball, you have to get a big play or two from Trey Tucker, whether it's on a vertical or he's beating somebody horizontally across the field. Um, this type of game, he has to get off press coverage first of all, but if he can, he has the speed to get past those guys. So we'll see. I think Trayvon Moore will be my X factor. I thought he played a really good game against the Rams and was key against stopping their run game. So I suspect they'll probably play him around the line of scrimmage a little bit more this game. So they're going to need him to make a couple of TFLs and maybe cause a turnover and get a pick. So um, Trayvon Morig is my X factor. All right, let's get into predictions.
I'll go first. I'm gonna go against the Ted Win lock of the year. I'm gonna go with the over. I got the Chiefs 30,
41?
Chiefs 30, Raiders 13.
Ooh, 30.
Okay.
So you're predicting it just kind of breaks loose in a
Yeah,
few
like the
quarters.
last few games, the last couple games, they were close for a while. Then the kind of defense kind of got worn down at the end. I think the last few games were kind of similar to that. So I just don't think the offense can keep it close for that long. And the defense at some point will put her out. I think and I'm sure I envision definitely after the game the Kermit the Frog thing coming up again at some point. I think that'll be something that Mahomes or the players mentioned. I think Mahomes is going to be Mahomes and play pretty well this game. So I think 30 is not that big a number, really.
I guarantee
Yeah.
you they're gonna have a crazy red zone play. They're gonna call Kermit.
They like to troll for sure. They like to. They're definitely very very petty. So I imagine they have something worked out for this game, especially because they know, you know, they still have some bad feelings with that game last year that they lost in KC. So I'm sure they'll turn it back around and maybe we'll see that stupid ring around the rosy play again. But yeah, they're definitely a petty bunch, and I think you're right. There will be some kind of answer to the Kermit thing.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think this one's going to be particularly close. I'm going Chiefs 31, Raiders 7. I think it's going to be
So you like your under.
yeah, like it's under. Not for good reasons for the Raiders, I guess, but yeah, blowout
So
loss.
based on our formula, that means Ted has to pick the Raiders to win. We can't all agree, right? So Ted, you got to pick the Raiders
No, I
to
mean
win.
Raiders
Can't
fans
do it.
likely agree because that means that they win.
Okay, then go ahead. Pick
Yeah,
the Chiefs. Then
Yeah,
pick the
reverse
Chiefs.
curse. Reverse
Reverse
curse.
curse.
yeah,
Yeah.
reverse
All
curse.
right.
All right. Yeah. I I think
Though, wait, hold on. As the Just Tank podcast, I think most Raider fans want them to lose, right? At this point,
Yeah,
they don't want the curse.
probably. Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
go ahead.
well, we're gonna have to curse them anyways. I I'm gonna say I don't think it's gonna be a blowout in terms of like a 30-point game, just because I don't think the Chiefs' offense is explosive enough to do that. I think they're kind of similar to the Rams' offense, with all the injuries they had. The Rams have at wide receiver. I think it's gonna be 23 to 6. 23 to 6.
Wow,
Yeah.
you
Damn.
guys
I mean,
hate this
I would not
offense.
take a
7
10
and
point.
6 points, man.
I
Why
wouldn't
would I
take a
not
10
hate
point
this
spread because
offense?
I feel like something messy is going to happen in this game, and maybe it keeps it a little closer than that. But
Something messy. All right.
yeah,
Okay.
Well,
23 to 6. 23
they
to
had
6.
they had 2 defensive scores last time, right? So maybe they get a defensive score. Who knows?
Yeah. All right, 23. My prediction is going to be 23 to 6, and the Chiefs run some crazy red zone play, and it's going to come out later that they called it like corn dog Kermit or something.
Yeah, very
Corn
specific.
dog Kermit.
Yeah, corn
Okay.
dog's the name of the motion they always use, and
Or
that
how about
give
Miss
guys wide
Piggy?
open run.
Miss Piggy, because they're a cute bunch. So they'll call them Miss Piggy.
Miss
Okay.
Piggy
Okay.
Kermit. Oh, nice, nice.
All right, that's
I like
our
our
prediction.
we're guessing the names of their trick plays now. It's kind of cool.